Hello and welcome to Season 4 of the Sunday Podcast, presented by sportsshoes.com. I'm Ollie Lum.
And I'm Matt Seddon.
This podcast is all about elite distance running in the UK.
We're here to give you all the latest news updates around the sport,
as well as weekly interviews with athletes and coaches.
Stay up to date by following us on Instagram and X at Sunday Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel too, where we post athlete workout videos, shoe reviews and more.
Thanks for listening, and as always, we hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, welcome back to another episode. Liverpool is back around, and Matt and I can't wait. We are 1 week out from the best race of the year, so we thought we'd get our teeth stuck into those senior men's and senior women's races and who we think is going to make the team, mate, because we've got a slightly different format coming up. Obviously, though, just before we get into that, 10 years of podium last weekend. Fabulous races, mate, wasn't it?
It was, and in fact, obviously I wasn't there. I was in Cardiff, but I called Barnesy, and what I watched on the live stream as well. I actually got to give it to her. I'm sure anyone who was there feels the same way, but it looked like, it certainly looked like the biggest crowds I've seen at a podium event. It looked sort of 3 or 4 rows deep. Atmosphere looked terrific. I thought, all the nice finishing touches they do these days are just getting better and better, and the events are getting more polished. These tune strokes, big screen as well. That was a nice addition. I know we had at Podium Festival, but I think that's one of the only places we've seen a nice big screen like that. And you know what, man? Barnesy's going to love to hear this, but, I always think an Instagram live stream, you can't go wrong, especially when it's on a lap track like that. It was good. It was engaging. Obviously, you get the amusement of the comments as well. So, but no, I think they absolutely nailed it. I think it shows how far the events come as well when you're giving the winners £3,000. I mean, yeah, if you're an elite, it's almost hard not to go to a podium event and compete, just because, to be honest, to run for £3,000 against people actually your level, I don't know anyone in the UK who has that kind of opportunity, unless you literally are those who are making Olympic finals.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And obviously the money's one thing, but like you mentioned as well, the atmosphere and just being able to be part of an event like that, I think is also what draws people there. They go there and it's more than just racing for themselves. I think they really enjoy being part of what is a spectacle for everyone else. And it's almost like it's one of those nights out, isn't it, where no one wants to miss it. They all want a piece of it. They all get themselves up there and race. And obviously it's given us stuff to think about in terms of Liverpool, because some people opted to do that instead of Cardiff Cross Challenge.
They did, and obviously, I think it's actually amazed me. I was having this conversation in the week. It's amazed me how few of our top athletes have wanted to get a cross country under their belt. We've seen athletes at Mansfield, that's it. Even we were speaking to the Wheeler brothers a little while ago, and Cardiff was big last year. There was real depth there. A lot of people who did Cardiff wanted to go on prepare for Liverpool. But this year, we've hardly seen anyone race. Like I said, we saw people at Mansfield, not really a race. Just basically people proving that they're fit. And I think it's risky, because I think, racing a 5K on the roads is one thing. Racing an 8K cross is different. And I think so many people are obsessed with, they want to get all the training in. They want to make sure they're ready to go. But surely races are a part of that. And I've been surprised, to be honest with you, how little we've seen some of the top athletes who are going for those GB spots toe the line, especially in league matches as well. Saw a few more in league matches this weekend, which, I'll mention as well.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if there's no race that really tests them in terms of racing, then like say they go to a league match and it is like your real contenders, they're not really racing anyway, because they can win the race any way they like. So,
but it's getting over the grass. It's getting over the grass. It's understanding. In a cross, you go through many different kind of waves of fatigue. Whether you got to tackle a hill, tackle mud, etc. And look, Liverpool, and it might be the fact of the matter is Liverpool really is. It's basically a 10K flat out, isn't it? I know it's not 10K anymore, but because the terrain's been so good, it's not going to be muddy, touch wood. If it doesn't rain this week, it's going to be probably one of the driest Liverpools we've seen. Cardiff was very dry. Everywhere's very dry at the moment. We haven't had much rain in the country, although aren't we forecast up north? Aren't they forecast snow or something this week? Who knows? But it's quite a simple course. Like there's not much to it. It's not hilly. It's fast, and so maybe they're just treating it like, yeah, maybe road race is the best preparation for it. To be honest.
No, I agree with you that a race would be better prep. What I'm saying is I don't think they've had a race that is of the caliber available to them, bar Mansfield, that would really actually test them in terms of those things. I mean,
Cardiff
yeah,
Cross.
like you say, they can go
Yeah.
to yeah, no, but I think when they all talk to each other, right, and they all say, "Oh, I don't
Mm.
know about Cardiff. We don't fancy Cardiff." Whereas
Well, I
if
think Cardiff on the flip side, mate,
yeah,
is too much of a test
yeah,
because you've got the East Africans who turn up. It's too much of a test. You end up just hammering it and not recovering.
yeah. Like you mentioned, we spoke to the Wheeler boys last year. Obviously, they hammered it at Cardiff last year and missed out on the team. So they've obviously taken a different approach this year. Um, and are amongst my picks, so but we'll get into that in a bit.
Mm. So look, let's just quickly summarize Cardiff. I think Zach Mohammed looking in great form. It was a hard race up front, and he competed well. Guy called Logan Reese coming in under the radar. 5AC. He's a 14:04 man over 5K, but he's looking bloody good over the country. And I think anytime you're 6 seconds behind Zach Mohammed on the cross country over 27 and a half minutes of running, chances are if you're 6 seconds behind Mohammed in Liverpool, you might well have a GB vest. Angus McMillan a little bit further back, Daph Jones as well, Jacob Khan, Jack Miller. So the usual suspects a little bit further down the field, taking some nice scalps, having some good battles with Niels Laros. That was what was quite cool actually, is a lot of our Brits were in this big pack with Laros and basically it was just Britain. It was almost like a dual meet between Britain and the Netherlands, to be honest with you, because it was Laros. I think it was Nielsen was in there and another Dutchman in there as well. So yeah, men's race was good. It was very entertaining up front. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it on YouTube. You probably have by now. But yeah, really good World Tour event. And and I think just quickly as well, like Cardiff Cross seems like the only one in the cross challenge who really make an effort. And you look at the others, I mean the inter-counties, the one in Scotland doesn't kind of pull the same crowds, the same attention at all. And yeah, I mean Liverpool is Liverpool. They're lucky it's a European trial. Um, but even though it is a European trial, for me, you turn up on the day, it's nowhere near as polished and as exciting as Cardiff Cross. There's half, and I know these are only aesthetics, but they make a big difference. The Liverpool it's marked out a little bit. I don't even know if there's a finishing gantry is there, or certainly not a
Yeah, there is.
starting gantry. And yeah, but I haven't been there for a couple of years, but it Cardiff Cross is way more appealing. And it does have that World Tour status, of course, and that's maybe why. But I feel like Liverpool they should all be on the same level.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're bang on with Cardiff putting on a great show. I think like the issue you've raised as well yourself there about it being almost too much of a challenge. I think if they could bring Cardiff just back a bit, obviously they've messed around with the schedule a bit in the past couple of years. It used to be a bit earlier in relation to Liverpool, and I think if you did bring it sort of a month out, um, we might, yeah, it might be kind of a bit more attractive as well to attract some more numbers in terms of like depth. But yeah, in terms of like the event itself and how they put it on, the course is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, that's to say you're right though. In terms of like the intercounties and other events, they used to be like I remember, mate, back when we were growing up, they were intercounties on Sky Sports. That was the one people wanted to go to
It was
get on
huge.
telly, and
Yeah.
now not at all.
No, the level of exposure was massive. It really was. But I think, yeah, with Cardiff Cross being, really high standard, I think it is growing, especially in makes the under 20 races, under 20 and under 17s, they were one race, but they were awfully competitive. And I think because they're only racing over 5K, these athletes, they can bounce back and they need that good, hard run out because Liverpool for them is just frantic. Now the under 20 men are 4.4K. I mean, Jesus, how long are they going to be running for? About 14 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be
That is going to be
absolutely.
fast. So I think they needed it, but also they can recover from it. So there were some great races. I mean, got to give it to Rab Johns. He's looking very good. Paul AC, by the way, doing a great job as well. But just quickly on the senior women's side before I digress, Kate Axford's impressive third place, Kerry Hughes, Izzy Fry, Poppy Tank, all kind of four of those battling well. Poppy Tank was a little bit further adrift, but yeah, those three. And I came away from Cardiff thinking that's basically the GB team. I mean, I know Jess Judd has entered for Liverpool, but we haven't really seen her. I mean, obviously she did Mansfield. And I was just like, and Amelia Quirk was in that race. She too was adrift of those four. And I was just thinking the women's senior women's field, unlike the men who we said have been avoiding kind of
Mm.
racing, we haven't seen them toe the line. The women have, and for me, that was a really, really strong field.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, mate. I think particularly like you say, those three um really kind of stamping their authority. The three of Axford, Hughes, and Fry, like you would expect them. Maybe not to be the top three, but you'd expect them in that top six. And let's start getting into those races because just to confirm, we kind of mentioned this before. Obviously, changed the schedule this year. So if you're not aware, Liverpool on Saturday, the senior men and the under 23 women. No, sorry, senior and under 23 women will be at 12:45. 8K for the senior women, 5.6K for the under 23 women, and there'll be three long laps for the seniors and two long laps for the under 23s. And then at 150, it'll be exactly the same thing over on the men's side. So same distances, same laps, and then stopping early. Um, yeah, it's a bit of it's something we thought they might change. Clearly they haven't. I'm on the website right now, so if anyone knows any different, then fine. But I don't think they're going to change it now. One thing me and Matt have been talking about is obviously the fact that selection policy wise, in previous years, it's very much been, I don't know, we've seen under 23s beat senior athletes. This time around, are we going to see any under 23s attempt to make the senior team rather than the under 23 team?
Yeah, you're basically saying, and previously they couldn't because it's all the same race and they run the same distance. You're saying Lum's been throwing a scenario around where an under 23 is in eighth place, their race is over, coming down, just before you take the U-turn. And yeah, let's just say they're out of it. They're a few seconds adrift. However, because they're only racing five, they're racing a whole lap less. They check their shoulder, and the seniors are 100 meters behind, and they go, "Oh,
Or
maybe
maybe
I can
more,
hang on."
you know? Maybe more than 100 meters behind because you're only racing 5.6K, right? So these these under 20s, under 23, sorry, men's and women could be absolutely lick it around there. And as a senior, right, you're not expecting that. So you could sit way off. Like you
And the
don't want to
thing
get
is,
encouraged or like caught up.
yeah,
I think this
I
year, right,
think it
the point we
could
made this year, right, is that
happen.
the under 23s aren't that strong. So we might not see that, particularly on the men's side, like compared to previous years. But like, look back at when like
Mm,
Hawkins won a senior race as an under 23, people like that. And in future
mm.
years, if they continue this format, it's a possibility. But I don't know if like if you're entered for the under 23s, would it not count if you finished the seniors sort of thing? Like
Well,
you
yeah,
have to
you said
finish.
you said this right because on the selection policy it says the top four seniors will be auto picks, excluding any under 23s. So if an under 23 was to win the senior race, would it be, two, three, four, five who are auto
Mm.
under 23 would not be picked. It would not be an auto for the under 23s because he didn't finish in their category, and now he's waiting to see if he would qualify for the seniors. I mean, presumably so, he or she. But yeah, it's going to throw up many questions. We're just brainstorming a few of what could happen. I mean, Barnico. The reason why I think it won't happen is because someone like Barnico, I'm not sure. He, by the way, I think did a Birmingham League this weekend, won that by a minute. Breezy for him. Um, But yeah, he's a racer, and I think he'll just want to kind of bide his time and race the field. So I
Mm.
can't see him like going gun to tape and dragging a load of under 23s with him and really setting a hard, fast, early pace. So yeah,
Kingston might though.
Kingston. I mean, Kingston is someone we were brainstorming. We were like, if he, I mean, for me, he's so good on the country. He comfortably qualifies in the under 23 race. But he is someone if he's having a disaster, he could probably carry on and qualify in the senior race. I'm not sure, but yeah, he could be someone who really takes it on and has to make it fast.
Yeah.
That's for sure, mate. Let's talk about some of these athletes. Should we just get through these under 23 men, seeing as we're on them and we're on the possible scenarios? I mean, I've listed a few big names, ones to look out for just for people on the podcast so they don't have to sift through the entry list really. I may have missed someone. Also, it's the entries have not quite closed. They close on Saturday night, I think. But there is a new kid on the block. I'm not sure uh what the eligibility of him competing for Great Britain is or not. However, a guy called Abdi Elmi from Somalia, runs for Bournemouth AC, beat Joe Wigfield in a Hampshire League by a second. And this guy's been throwing up some 10Ks. He's been going completely under the radar, and I was delighted to see him on the start list for Liverpool Cross. Because I just thought, oh, well, he's going to be a bit of a curveball for a lot of these people. Um, he might not be able to compete. It might be like, what's that guy in the under 20s? Is it Gebre
Yeah,
Salam or
Ep47.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone like, and he's been just obviously creaming in the 20s. So this Abdi Elmi could be similar under 23, but I know down at Bournemouth AC, reading a couple articles on him, they're very excited. And to beat Joe Wigfield on the cross, I mean, he's no slouch. So
Yeah.
he must be pretty fit.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And obviously, other people in there. You got Alex Malloy, Dav Jones. Obviously, you mentioned good run at Cardiff Cross Challenge. Barnacote, of course. Matt Ramsden, not the Australian, but always that
Who
name.
ran a good podium 5K. Yeah,
Yeah, that name always kind of makes me crease. I always think it's the Aussie, but it's not. And obviously, yeah,
washed up Aussie.
Kingston, Kingston as well in there, as well as a few others. And I think, yeah, like you say, mate, maybe not this year in terms of like affecting the senior race, having them in there, but it's going to be a bit of a weird watch.
Yeah, yeah, it will be. But I think times are changing, man. I just think, cross the sport goes in waves. I think cross country has always been and this is why we've always loved it. It's always been a bit of a development pathway
Mm.
for a lot of people. And I just think that's you talk about when Hawkins won, but then when he was in the height of his marathon kind of success, I think the last time we saw Hawkins at Eurocross was like 2016 or so, and Bouchard and people like that,
Yeah, yeah,
2016,
great
2017, and
race
then
that was.
Bouchard might have done a couple more, maybe 2018. I can't remember, but yeah, it goes in waves, and I think people got different plans, haven't they? So yeah, there's the under 23s. I mean, just quickly, I'm going to put in that top 4 or 5. I think Daf Jones makes it, of course. Will
Yeah,
Barnacle absolutely smashes it. Sam Mills has a good shot, stepping up. He ran well at Euros last year as an under 20. Oscar Bell, I think he could make it. He has a great shot after last weekend. Matt Ramsden and James Kingston, they're my kind of big hitters for that one. And of course, this Abdi Elmi guy, I think he will finish pretty high up. But I don't know if he's eligible or not, to be honest. But yeah, we
yeah.
move on. Do you want to go short course or get to the long course, mate?
I was going to get into the senior man, and firstly, I was just going to. Do you think it will be like a separate race, as in like those under 23s will go off and be in their own separate pack, almost like a separate race, or do you think they are all going to
Nah,
be together? And
I feel like
yeah,
I feel like unless someone like Kingston hits the front and pushes on, and this is why this guy from Bournemouth, this Abdielmi guy. By the way, I think he trained with Farah for a little bit at some point in his career, and those guys. Obviously a few years ago. But I think this is why he's quite interesting because he could be, very gung ho and just get after it from the off.
mm,
And then people will follow because I think it's just a good opportunity to kind of break away from others, given it's
yeah,
such a short race. So But otherwise, if not him, I don't think anyone will really. I don't think anyone will really push on. I think Barnico is going to race this. He's going to want to hammer it towards the end. I think Kingston. I think both him and Kingston have got one eye on the Eurocross as well and shaping up for that. Um, but if I'm a senior, I'm also going. I think you want to stay. It's only 8K. A lot of these guys can handle that quite comfortably, and I'm thinking. I'm going to stay as close to these under 23s as possible and just let them be a pacemaker and get dragged
Yeah,
around. Like if we mentioned it before, you're never going to have to push the pace in that early part, and that's massive. And then soon as they peel off, it's almost like a track race. You're
yeah,
like, right, okay, under 23s are out of here. Now we can race. Now I'm
yeah,
off. And I feel like that will be the scenario that plays out. We might see seniors want to go quicker.
yeah. True. And I was just about to say, yeah. Then you get the other thing. You look at some of these runners, and they're not scared to push it on. We got some big strength guys in there. Obviously, Ben Connor's in there. Hugo Milner. Is Hugo Milner going to sit behind a load of under 23s when they're running 5.6K and be like waiting for them to get out of the way? He might be the one leading it still. So it's going to be interesting to see. And yeah, like you say, mate. Let's get into those seniors, mate. Obviously, fabulous talents, a load of whom have made the team last year. He's got Manthorpe in there, Gus McMillan, the Wheeler brothers, Ellis Cross, Milner, Wigfield, you mentioned already. James West is doing it. So we'll get into that as well. Rory Leonard, of course, fabulous leg at Mansfield, and his teammate Scott Beattie as well. Ben Connor, and then a load more as well, mate.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say, yeah, my team. I've I don't know if it's just I gravitate towards the team McCown lot because they are on social media and I'm always reminded of them. But I did like the way they raced at Mansfield and they're clearly in good shape. Leonard, Beattie, and Cross, and I'm kind of like I think those three have a really good chance. But then the likelihood of all three of them qualifying, they've all got good cross pedigree though. And so I'm kind of like I think those guys will feature on the GB team. And then you've got Hugo Milner and Ben Connor. And like I've put circles around those five because I'm like that. I mean, that's kind of the obvious top five. But then you've got, and I always think you're going to get one or two outsiders. Westy for me is a big outsider. I mean, hands down, he's the best 5,000 meter runner in the field. Anyone who argues with that, go look at British champs for the last few years. Go look at indoor 3K for the last few years. Like, it depends what you judge as 5,000, but he is the best 5,000 meter runner in the country right now. Um, and if it's dry and it's fast and it's only 8K and he has been doing that kind of more endurance work as he keeps trying to chip away at that 5K time. He hasn't raced on the cross and he hasn't got, an amazing history on the cross, but he is someone I think who even not being a cross runner, he should make the GB team.
Mate, I think so, mate. Like, look at how Mark Scott has run. Maybe not like recent years, but previously over cross country, being the 5,000 meter runner he is. James West is training to run sub 13 next year.
Yeah,
That's
if
what
you can't make a
that's
GB
the
cross
level.
team,
That is the level he is at. He is training to try and be a sub 13 guy over 5K next year. And like you say, the work you have to do that, I'm pretty sure he's going to be in good shape if he
yeah.
lined up on Saturday. If James West toes the line, like obviously he's entered, but if he's there lined up, I expect him to make that team. And like you say as well, mate, like you look at his British champs results, his indoor 3K results, the guy's a racer. The guy knows how to cross the line in first place, let alone in the top six.
I think the one thing about him we can just to take the pressure off him a little bit, I'm pretty sure he's had more Achilles surgery and stuff, and he has gone through quite a bit of rehab and stuff towards the back end of the track season. I know that. So, he's not I think he's very early on in his winter, but yeah, like me and you say, he's the best 5,000 meter runner. And if you're the best 5K runner, you stand a pretty good chance over 8K on a pretty flat, dry Liverpool. So
Yeah.
McMurray's in there. Joe Wigfield mentioned him. You got the D brothers, mate. I mean, they both ran pretty well at Mansfield. That whole Shaftesbury team, people like Jeremy Dempsey as well. So they're going to be awfully close. Um, They really are. Basically, yeah, I, and yeah, I was gonna say, I think there's two or three who are locks, and I think, the way Rory Leonard's moving, Hugo Milner, and I am gonna put Ben Connor in that just because he's done it so many times.
Yeah.
Like, is he really gonna finish further down than sixth? I don't know. I don't think so, but
Yeah, mate.
maybe
I think I'd agree, mate.
he
I
wouldn't
know
do it if he
I
was.
know I'm a bit biased as well. I put the Wheeler brothers in there. I think they last year they
You
got
think
it
this
wrong.
is their year?
They got it wrong on the day. This year, I think they've been a lot more careful with how they've prepared for this. Obviously, been up at altitude as well. Ran really well at Mansfield. Like you said, Mansfield's not a race. Charlie Wheeler won the only proper race of the day.
Yeah,
On
he did.
one,
Yeah.
so that's got to count for something. And yeah, I think as well, especially if they're working together at the front this year, that is always a massive boost for those guys. And I think now they're a bit more established on this stage that they will feel like they can be right up there with the lead pack rather than trying to hang on to other people. And I think that suits them as well. Is being in the race from the start, not trying to sneak a sixth place, like being in the race from the start and being real
Mm.
contenders. So I'd have those two in there. And then pretty much agree with you. I think, like I was just saying, I think if Wesley does it, he makes a team. So that's three. And then obviously you've got um, Hugo Milner, Ben Connor, uh, absolute pedigree over cross country, and then I put Rory Leonard in for my six there
Yeah.
in no
Mate, and
particular order.
we're not mentioning Zach Mohammed, mate. Uh,
Oh fucking hell!
I
I
just,
probably have
I
to
just remembered
change.
we've been talking this whole time and we haven't mentioned Zach Mohammed, and he's someone else who gets in there. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's very, very difficult. Could this be Zach Mohammed's year to really push on the cross? I know he called his track season relatively early. Do you remember when we spoke to him and he wanted
yeah,
to prepare for the half? And I know he had more in the tank than what he ran at the half marathon in Valencia. And so there's not many people who are in kind of, I know he ran 62.0, but even 62.0, he's not many in this field of 62-minute half marathon runners. So
yeah. Who would I take out then
yeah.
of that of my six? I don't even know.
I'm just gonna go Hugo Milner, Rory Leonard, Zach Mohammed. Where am I? Yeah, maybe Scott Beattie, James West, and Ben Connor. That's my six.
Wow. Yeah, I'll probably go.
I've left Ellis Cross out. Feel terrible, but
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Now I'm thinking, which Wheeler brother do I leave out? Can one of them make the team? Is that even possible? I don't know how they feel about that. I think they'd be quite.
Cross is such a head game as well. I love looking at the cycling Cross because I
Yeah.
think all these men on paper are really good, but there's gonna be a few differences there on the weekend. I think a lot of that's gonna come down to sight. Mate, short course, just quickly.
Yeah, obviously a few names in there who kind of been there or thereabouts like before or even made that team. Obviously James Hennigan's in there who made a team a couple years ago now, I think.
Hmm.
Right, he ran the long course at Cardiff, so he's been getting himself in some pretty good endurance shape. Ben Claridge in there who trains with him as well. McMurray you mentioned in there as well, so I think he's entered for both. You'd expect him probably to do the short course. Uh,
Yeah, I would. He might do both. He might pace the some of his teammates.
yeah, and then Tiana Craucan as well. Olmir's athlete. So a few in there. Probably this is one of those races that I don't think it's really kicked on, has it, since his first introduction to the
Mate,
Liverpool calendar.
I think it's got its purpose, man. It's got its
Yeah,
purpose, and it's a really good development race. Yeah, I think we don't get for example, like Westy. Westy's opted to do long course over the short course. He doesn't want to, and I think that's the thing. Our kind of 1500 5K boys, they don't want to be doing 1500 5K this time of year. They want to be, even bloody Penn Patterson's running 5K this time of year.
yeah,
Even someone like him is not too interested in short course. So it's still kind of that development race, isn't it? That stepping stone. I think McMurray does well. Jack Higgins is another one who's been on the cross quite a lot, doing those Kent leagues and stuff. Seen him. So, well, I think James McMurray is a pretty safe lock for this short course. And the short course is so interesting because I think I they basically just run a fraction quicker than those doing the long course because there's a speed limit to how fast you can run
Yeah.
on grass. Like you can only get so much back from the ground. It's almost like when you run on sand, the harder you try, the slower you get almost. And I know last year was very boggy and stuff, so it doesn't really matter like how fast you are, but there's just a limit to how fast you can run. So it's always an interesting one. And they get so filled with lactic because they end up, you're working so hard through the grass, through the mud, etc. And the turns are crucial. That's finishing straight. Um, but I think the way McMurray's been, his strength stuff this year has been pretty hot. He's in some good races, some good 5 milers. So decent 10K or something. But yeah, I'm gonna go McMurray.
Yeah, and I think the point you made there as well is where this tactical element really comes in this race. I think people who have actually specifically prepared to make this team are the ones who do, rather than those who are just like, oh yes, this time of year I'm pretty fit. I'll just jump in the Liverpool short course. Um,
Mm.
See where I'm at. We've seen previously like people who actually really hit this as a great stepping stone in their career are the ones who often come out on top. So we don't really know how seriously people have been taking their preparations for the short course, but normally afterwards it comes out in kind of an interview or speaking to people around that, yeah, people have been had their eye on it and are really kind of looking to drill the race.
Yeah, and actually, mate, Callum Elson's another one that I think him and McMurray just to add him in. I was just double checking. I was kind of half expecting him to see him in the
Yeah, I thought we might see him in the long course.
Yeah, I was half expect. Obviously, it didn't. Obviously, coming back off the Achilles and no track season and stuff. I thought he'd start with the longer stuff first
Mm.
and then work down. So I think, but again, you talk of stepping stones. I mean, it was a great stepping stone for him, and I think he knows that if he can cement his place and do the short course, I think that shows he's in good shape, and he's kind of ready to kick on for that going into possibly an indoor campaign as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
He had a
was half
decent run at
expecting him as well.
Mansfield, didn't he? So um
Yeah.
you wouldn't put him a million miles away, but I guess fairly sensible because you look at that senior men's race and obviously like the way he's been progressing year on year, have wanted to be in that and making that team. But I think post injury, like if you can jump in the short course and still get yourself a GB vest after kind of the kind of unlucky streak, the torrid time he's had since indoors, then you're in a really good place, like you say.
Hmm. I would say just one more thing on the short course. There's a lot of entries, so I hope they all turn up because I think for a few years there's been. I mean, don't quote me, but I swear like 14, 13. It's been a bit like a 1,500. Maybe there's been 20, but I think I'm looking at over 30 runners here.
That's gonna be
Yeah.
carnage.
Tyler Billiard's another guy who, you think with his 1,500 pedigree could feature short course. I'm going to stick with McMurray. But yeah, right, man. Liverpool, whew, we're a week away, just under a week away. Let's move on to the women's race.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we start with those under 23s like we did with the men?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, someone in here
I'm
actually.
sure.
What was that? Sorry, mate.
I was just going to say, mate, I'm sure we're recording on Friday night for a bit of context, and I swear to God, people are entering. People are popping up on my screen, and they weren't on my screen. So I reckon people are sitting there getting their Liverpool entry in right
Who
now.
actually does that though? I'm not being funny. Like, actually, to be fair, I'm talking
People
to you.
delay it as long as
You're the
possible.
sort of lastminute.com guy as well. But if that was me, right? If I was in a position of making a team,
You'd have
I'd have
entered
entered
in
as soon as it opened.
September.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
make sure there's no clerical errors, no system errors. Like people are
Mate, people like Emil Caress are just sitting at home. It'll be Saturday night, like
oh
11:59.
yeah. So
Bang.
yeah, if Emil, you are just entering now, you've ruined our podcast, but you've made our race because
Made
our
us look stupid.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd rather the podcast is bad and then get to see Emil compete at Liverpool. So I guess yeah, catch 22. But no, what I was going to say, you mentioned the short course and the under 23 women. Abby Ives is entered in both that short course and the under 23s race. So interesting to see which one she opts for. Again, though, like with how short these under 23 races are now, I feel like coming back after the kind of short course, if like depending on kind of what caliber of athlete you are. It's not actually as bad as it was previously.
Yeah, what, doing a mile at 10 o'clock in the morning
And then a
and then doing
5K
a couple of hours later.
a few hours later, yeah. I mean, obviously, yes, it's still
Tough,
tough,
mate.
but
But
it's
no,
not the
I
same
don't
as the
think.
10K issue we had, like
No, I mean that's yeah, that's just never going to happen. So I guess it is tempting for people. Yeah, Abby Ives did do Cardiff Cross, ran respectable for an 800 girl there. Um, I think I would have thought she'd try and attack the short course. To be honest with you,
yeah,
um,
you'd think so.
yeah, I think so, man. You know, Sarah Calvert's another one. Scottish athlete, you know, British champs finalist, 412 over 1500. It's those sorts of runners which I think are quite dangerous. She's another one I think might have a good chance.
Yeah, Jess Judd entered in both as well. She's entered that senior women's race and the
And she could, you
short
know,
course.
what I love about Judd is like she doesn't have an ego when it comes to like racing and I guess like if she's building back, she
Mhm.
won't care where she finishes. If that makes sense. Oh, she might a little bit, but so she could just be like, oh, do you know what? I'm just gonna get a good workout in here. I'm gonna do short course. I'm gonna do long course. Just get one monster day done.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
and
push for
on the selection
18.
policy, you can't make two teams. Just to clarify for people
Oh, so
listening.
there's 0 point doing both then.
Well, I guess it gives you the choice, though, doesn't it? Or you,
That'd be stupid doing both races at
yeah,
Euros anyway. I just thought of that. Like
yeah,
the short course relays, I think actually for some people, I think the short course relay is sandwiched in between the day. So if you're an under 23, you might race and then have the short course straight after. I can't remember how the timetable works out, but I would be stupid, man. There's hardly any recovery time.
yeah. I more meant
Yeah.
for like ones who I guess they might miss out on a short course and then double back for the long, But yeah, anyway, yeah, you mentioned those under 23 women. Super hard to call. Like,
No, do you know what? I think one of the biggest problems, to be fair, mate, you're not I mean, when you look through the start list and stuff, a lot of the under 23s in America.
mm,
Um, and the same, and actually the same with the under 20s. And I think obviously the NCAAs is on the same day. And I think that's a big issue.
yeah,
Not a big issue, but that's why we haven't got some of those big names that we expect to see. They're out in the States. You know, they're going to be competing at NCAAs, and you know, I think James Dargan on the men's side, under 20. You know, he's someone always gonna be on that, or think about putting him on that GB team. I think Ed Bird's out there. Like, there's a good few under 20s and under 23s in America. Obviously, it's so attractive now, especially with these
yeah,
nil deals, etc. So that is why you look through the under 23s and you're like, wait, I'm not seeing many names jumping out at me here, but. B Wood is certainly one to look out for. 13th Cardiff Cross. Mia Waldman, by the way, 17th Cardiff Cross. Meg Gatsby's running well. She was 10th at Cardiff Cross. Holly Parker, 412, 1500 meter runner, Brighton Phoenix. Again, she's another one who is in the short course as well. So there's quite a few of them look like they're on the fence and they're just going, what do I go for? But I actually think the under 23 women's is bloody wide open. We're going to have a whole host of new names in there, quite possibly, and a lot of GB vests, uh, caps, GB caps, or first caps, or whatever. What do you call it in football when you get your first shirt?
that's a cap.
Yeah,
In
cap.
athletics, it's a vest,
Yeah,
though, mate. If you're fine with vest, that's what
yeah.
you.
You know what? They're going to get their first senior call up, their first international call up. I think anyway. It is,
Yeah.
yeah, mate. Sorry, I
Unless
mean,
they just go and
I've
pick
got a
unless
head
they just
cold.
go and pick NCAA women. I think that's the thing. Like it's always been like you'd have to almost like overperform at NCAAs to get picked. Because let's be
Yeah,
honest, like if
yeah.
you come 150th at NCAAs, you're probably making an
Oh,
under
mate,
23 team, right? But to get
mate.
picked, you have
I
to
don't know about
you have to come top
150th at
20.
NCAs.
Oh, do you not think?
No, no. I think if you're coming inside the top 70 at NCAs, you're probably making another 23
Okay,
team.
fine. But still a lot. But as in what I'm saying is, you come 70th. There's no way in like historically you'll get picked. You have to be coming like top 20. Like even all Americans don't get picked sometimes.
Yeah, it's usually the benchmark, isn't it? Like that's usually a headache for British. Someone was 36th. Oh, it's a good run, but
Yeah.
yeah. Seeing as the NCAs is getting, I mean, by the way, we're in for a feast on the 23rd because to be able to watch Liverpool cross and then in the evening watch the NCAs and a bunch of 13-minute men go toe for toe.
Yeah, sickening, sickening.
So, under 23 women, yeah. Senior women, let's move on.
We've got a host of big names in here. Obviously, you mentioned some of the ones who've raced in Cardiff. Obviously, Izzy Fry, Poppy Tank, Amelia Quirk in there as well, Carrie Hughes, Kate Axford, of course. And then you throw in the ones who didn't race in Cardiff. So you got like Abby Donnelly, Alex Bell's on there. Obviously, she's retired from the track, but focusing more on the longer stuff. So a bit like we said with Westy, like she's an athlete I just don't bet against, you know. Super tough athlete, super experienced, and she's been focusing more on the longer stuff now. You'd expect her to feature at least for part of the race, right? You've got people like Jess Gibbon in there, great heritage on the cross country. Jess Judd, as we've mentioned, Neve Britton Hubbard, Neve Brown in there, Sarah Aston in there, been running great as well. Obviously, part of that winning team in Mansfield. So, where do we start with these? Because you talk about being that under 23 women's race being wide open. I think this one as well. We mentioned some strong contenders from Cardiff, but I think this one's pretty open too, but not in the sense that there's not so many names we know, but in the sense that it's stacked. And obviously Megan Keith
Mm.
at the moment is not on the entries.
It's stacked with a bunch of people who are kind of at the same level. Like, I think they're all due a breakout season.
Mm.
I think Kate Axel's obviously made that switch to Andy Henderson. She's got her pro deal. She's invested. She's full time now. I think in 2025 she's going to have a breakout season, and she has been having great seasons. But I mean, to really step up and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and feature. Um, and I think, other names in there are like Carrie Hughes, who's kind of another one who's been building really well. I mean, Izzy Fry is already established anyway, but I think she's due again another big progression in
Yeah.
2025. So they're all kind of like on the cusp of really establishing themselves on a world level. And I think being able to qualify for a world championships or an Olympic Games. And so I honestly think what we saw in Cardiff is going to be very close to what we'll see in Liverpool. I don't think it'll be much different. Jess Judd, just don't know where she is at the moment. Don't know what shape she's in, but you would definitely put her in the team. Abby Donnelly as well.
Yeah.
Then in addition to those two, you're just thinking, yeah, for me, it's Kate Axford, it's Carrie Hughes, and it's Izzy Fry, and it's Poppy Tank. And to be honest, there's your six. Alex Bell, she was down to run Cardiff. Wouldn't call Kate Axford a training partner, even though they're coached by the same coach. I don't think they do too much work together, obviously opposite ends of the country, but she didn't go to Cardiff. I don't know why. I think she has done a league match this year. Pretty certain of that. Again, you can't judge anything on that. So I'd be surprised if Bell can step up and compete with these girls. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think like when it comes down to it, I just think she'll definitely feature in the race. I think I'm pretty much in agreement with you. Yeah, so Izzy Fry for sure, Carrie Hughes, yeah, Donnelly, yeah, Judd, yeah, that's four, right? Axford, yeah, makes the team, and then for me, the sixth spot is a bit more open, and then potentially someone like Jess Gibbon for me. I just think the amount of time she's made the team, it doesn't happen by
Mm.
chance, and then not just that, she's gone on and performed like getting what top 12, top 15 performances at Eurocross quite regularly. And so I think that would be my
Mm.
six. So very similar to yours, but yeah.
I'm discounting Amelia Quirk here, club teammate. But
You just try not to put the pressure on, mate. That's all.
well, yeah, she didn't impress too much in Cardiff, and I think you add in a couple more names like Donnelly and Gibbon and Judd. Even Gemma Steele's a bit of a she an outside shot.
Yeah, if we're talking about
Amy
heritage,
Pritzker's ran
then
well
yeah,
in
for
Mansfield.
sure.
Yeah. So, but I think this is when we talk about how the race is going to play out, scenarios, and we're talking a lot about the men. I think this is a race where those seniors will be at the front. They will be the ones dictating the pace. I think the under 23s, if you're smart, you're going to be able to key off it. You're going to be able to hide for a lot of the race, and then you can almost, I think if you're an under 23, you can almost get the jump on your rivals.
Mm.
Um, if you kind of weave in through seniors, and I think as well, something worth talking about is the lap runners. Obviously, now the course has got shorter and the laps have got shorter. We're going to be hitting lap runners that little bit earlier as well because I'm sure we've lost about a mile on the course, haven't we? So and they used to start lapping people on lap two. I mean, it's a bit like Cardiff, and then the whole last lap is basically just weaving. And so I think we're going to see that some more of that
Mate,
on a
my brain
worse
can't
level.
compute whether it makes it better or worse having having
Yeah,
different laps.
I'm trying to think, was I being stupid there saying it makes it worse? But one thing it will do is the field will be closer together. So those guys towards the back of the
Yeah.
field getting lapped won't be so strung out. Oof. That is one thing Cardiff got a bit of hate for, actually. I think a lot of the internationals are like, what the hell? Why am I lapping, 60-year-old blokes doing a Gwent League here? It
Well,
was mental. It was
shouldn't come do a Gwent League then, should they? Because apparently it's a Gwent League, right? Where else are they going to run?
and I swear, it's like that across Europe.
I just think we have a better grassroots community for cross country than
We do,
some
yeah,
other.
yeah.
But do you know what I mean? Like we have people that are just out there loving the cross country. I think you watch some races abroad and you don't see that so much. Like a lot of it is like people who are like taking it super seriously. So I think
Mm.
it's nice. It's almost like the road races where you have like the mass participation. Except I just love everyone in their club vest, mate. Getting around there and seeing international athletes have to weave in and out of those local club races, club vests, sorry.
Yeah,
Is
also,
spectacle.
I think I think I think this is what's good about cross is all those people turning up means you've just got way more people at the venue.
Yeah,
If they all bring a plus one, then you've got an extra 300 people watching the race.
yeah,
It's a no-brainer.
yeah.
Anything senior women as well, same thing. So there's an extra possibly 700 people at this venue, and I think that's good for the event,
It
and that's
is. Having
pumping
said
up the
that,
elite prize
with
money.
Liverpool, I have said repeatedly over the past couple of years that they need to be careful because when there's GB vests on the line, that's when it becomes a bit more
Yeah.
dodgy sometimes. So we'll see how it plays out with the laps this year. Again, yeah, apologies, man. I can't get our heads around whether the lap's making it better. Mate, I think it makes it better when it's short.
No, it does. It's better. It's way better to watch,
No, no,
isn't
as in
it?
I meant lap wise. Because
You think
there's
everyone's
still,
just going to be that little bit quicker, and there's obviously less time in the race. Yeah, maybe.
mate, we're gonna have
Yeah.
people listening thinking we are absolutely off our trolleys.
No, I'm just thinking gaps will be smaller, and once they come on once they
So
approach
once
the
they
back
start
markers,
lapping,
it's going
it's
to
a
be
bit more of an
messy
issue. Yeah. I get you.
because the race won't have thinned out so much. So it won't be like, and usually you get like by that point, Hugo Milner's got 20 meters on Zach Mohammed, who's got 20 meters on Jack Road. Do you know
Yeah.
what I
So
mean?
it doesn't matter.
Whereas you could have a pack of guys trying to lap people. That's what I'm saying. It could be the biggest problem because that's when you have to take different lines. People are weaving all over the place, and
Yeah.
that's when it gets sketchy and costly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Be interested to see. But look, we've got all that to look forward to, mate. So that pretty much wraps us up for Liverpool. And obviously, yeah, not long to go now at all. Apologies if we did miss anyone based off those last minute entries coming through, but we think we covered everyone. Yeah, like Matt said, it's Friday night right now, so covered everyone that we are aware of. But mate, as always, I'm sure it'll be a show, and I guarantee, I think I say this every year, I guarantee that there'll be a man and a woman that we have not mentioned at all, or like barely mentioned, that will make what both like the men's and the women's team because
I've
it
tried
happens
to mention,
every
yeah,
single year. Yeah,
I've tried to mention a lot of people: Logan Reed, Stuart McCallum, Jamie Dempsey.
just getting a few
Those, by the
last
way,
minute ones in now. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, just chucking a few names in there. Mate, I mean, the spike rules have changed. They changed quite a while ago, actually. We just keep forgetting to mention it. But it's 20 mil on the track, which I think all spikes are under this, except for the Hoka. Is it CeeLo
Cello.
X-Fly 25? The Hoka Cello. That is actually more than 20 mil. So if you've got that spike next year, you won't be allowed to wear it. Again, I wonder how they're going to police this. Um, yeah, and cross country, the World Athletics rules state that the limit is 20 mil if you've got spikes on your feet. So the same would apply. That Hokacello would be illegal or banned. But if you haven't got spikes in, they've slightly changed the rule. If you haven't got spikes in, the stack height limit is 40 mil. So basically, yeah, if you're wearing trainers, you can just wear your super shoes on cross country,
Yeah, just no splats, basically, is what they're saying.
but you can't have spikes in there. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
do a Parker Valby.
So, well, but you can because obviously in the NCAA they don't care. So,
Well, in the NCAA, they don't care, but I'm
yeah.
saying,
No, yeah.
I'm just like,
So is this from next year? So Liverpool's fine, right? So all these
I think so. Do you know what?
Steve McCall guys, they're not going to get pulled up with their 25 mil hokers on the finish line.
wait, mate, I don't know if
They're probably
I don't
listening
know if
now,
they
man.
wear.
They're thinking, "Oh, we got to go change our spikes."
No, they'll know. I don't know if they wear that spike, but that's basically the only spike that's on the market that is over the 20 mil was the Hoka. All the others, Dragonflies, Avantis, all that shebang, they're all like 19 mil or something. So
Yeah.
really nothing's changing. But
And if you do want to get some
interesting point.
spikes ahead of Liverpool, quick little plug. Obviously, sports shoes Black Friday discounts have already started, so I believe you can get yourself like a nice little discount on. What would you go for, mate? Consumer advice, probably a Dragonfly on that Liverpool course next week, maybe an Avanti.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the two. Dreamy. I would go for the standard Dragonfly, the Dragonfly XC as well. I just think it's just more comfortable, to be honest.
Yeah.
Comfort's everything in this game. You're on feet for a longer time. Yeah. So that would be my recommendation. And mate, just finally before we finish this podcast, obviously no guest this week, but Grand Slam have announced their meetings, and I thought an interesting point is they're all really early on. You know, you've got the one in Jamaica, Kingston is going to kickstart things the 4th to the 6th of April. Extremely early to see pros race. And they're going to be forced to race, you know, the likes of Kerr, Hocker, Nagoose, they're going to be forced to race 3 times before what I class as a typical month.
Yeah.
The end of May, early June is when it's a pro typically opens up if the championships is in September. Last couple of years have been skewed because the major champs have been like June, July, or July time, late July, August as well with the Olympics, obviously. But this year, with the champs being in September, pros are going to be forced to race. You're doing this Grand Slam, April the 4th, May the 2nd, May the 30th, and then the last one, the final of the four in Los Angeles UCLA Stadium on the 27th of June. Obviously, that's a week before pre-classic. So for many of them, you know, you're on the right coast. That's probably perfect timing. You're going to get two hits out, but you're not just racing. You're doing 2 races. So by the time June rolls around, it's done 6 1500s. No, six. Sorry, 3 1500s, 3 800s. Right, 6 races.
Which is pretty bonkers, right? Because you talk about this Grand Slam, right? LA meet week before pre-classic. People sometimes open up at pre.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Like that is.
all 4 of
But
them early doors.
money talks, right? Money talks. And so I don't know. Are they just gonna? Is Josh Kerr just gonna rock up and run 148 and still just worry about peaking later on? Do you know what I mean?
Mate, I am so intrigued to see. Look, money talks. I'm so intrigued to see how they do come Worlds in September.
Yeah.
Mate, they don't race 8 times in a year. Unless you're Georgia Bell.
Georgia Bell's looking at a schedule thing. If clean up that
Like when I
easy.
say 8 times in a year, they don't go to 8 different meetings. Hardly. You know, yes, they have heats and finals and stuff, but
Yeah.
you don't see many pros more than like
And not on that
more than
level as
10.
well. Like the level they're bigging it up as, like the Grand Slam, right? Like
I thought
they're
the
not just
stadiums.
meetings, are they? It's not like going down Watford Diamond League
Mm,
and doing a little opener in a different event, is it? It's a Grand Slam track meet.
mm, exactly. I thought the stadiums were interesting. Obviously, you got the one in Kingston, Jamaica. That's the only one not on US soil. Miami is the second one. Philadelphia is the third one, and Los Angeles, UCLA, is the fourth one. Um, yeah, obviously we've all seen the Penn Relays. That is a really cool stadium. And I think they've just gone for stadiums which they know, the one in Florida as well. I think there's a really big, there's some really big sprint races down there. Um, and they've just gone for stadiums where, look, there's already a crowd that get engaged this time of year for track meets. So we'll just basically piggyback off that and get them to come watch 2 weeks after.
Do you reckon NCAA athletes are going to be allowed to run Grand Slam as a challenger?
What? Yeah. It's in
Because
the
you got to
NCAA
think, right?
system.
In terms of like location and also in terms of talent, right? For that time of year, they're the people flying at
It's in
that
their
time of
season.
year.
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously really local to them. It's the same way we see pros go to Peyton Jordan. Is it going to start happening the other way now? Like, you get a top NCAA collegiate guy or girl, why not chuck them in that race? But
Jesus.
that could be
Collegians,
interesting.
mate, the NCAA is just sweeping all the cash, isn't it? Imagine you just start to have collegians in these races. They're already on their nice nil deals. They're already living cushy. Now they're getting 100 grand.
Why would you go pro? Why would you go pro? Say you can do Grand Slam track, right? And you're at an
Time will
Oregon.
tell. Because a lot of the sprinters are actually they're faster. Like the NCAA sprinters are the best in the world at this time of year.
Yeah.
The NCAA sprinters run 9.9 in April, May time. Pros, we don't even
US
see them.
sprinters just can't travel though. That's that honestly, that is what it is.
Yeah, they're not as good.
Because and that's why they run so quick because they just but I guess if you think about it, right? We talk about like how travel affects distance runners in terms of like not feeling so sharp. Imagine that when your race is over in 9 seconds, like the
Oh,
it's just the difference just
it's
even bigger,
everything.
right? And it's not like you're going to like at least a distance runner. Yeah, you might be a bit tired, but it's because you traveled to Valencia to run on a course which is it's not short, but it may as well be. Uh, like you get
Yeah.
a serious advantage. Whereas a sprinter, you might travel across the world to run on a track that's no better than your home collegiate track, for example. The weather's probably worse,
Definitely.
and you're knackered. And then you run point 0.1 slower, which is fuck all. But then that's the difference between being good and not being good. So yeah,
Yeah, literally. So hey, that's the news. Next weekend, it's gonna be mega. Liverpool, NCAs. To be honest, it actually doesn't get much better than that.
no, it doesn't.
It's the Christmas treat.
And the sprint doc's back as well, season 2. I haven't watched it yet, but
Oh man,
I
it's
might do that my
just
weekend now. Actually, I might get straight into that.
yeah. I'm living the dream. I'm gonna be at the BB&O on Sunday. Oxford's team gets selected for varsity, so I'm really looking forward to that. Got a lot of
You
depth.
can you can ask them about the whether it's better with the laps now. Get them to go through that conundrum. I'm sure they'll give you an answer quite quickly. So, right. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate it as always, and we'll catch you very soon.